Hello there, my name's Mark, and this is episode 45 of the Holocron Chronicles. I'm joined, as always, by my trusty co-pilot, Charlie Mother Flippin' Carden. Charlie, how you doing tonight?
Rick Springfield.
Springfield.
My shirt tonight. Special significance. Longtime Star Wars fan, big collector of vintage Kenner Star Wars action figures. He was on a show once or twice. I think he lost some of them in a big fire and up in his North Hollywood neighborhood several years back. But yeah, big Star Wars guy. Go figure, right? But yes, this was the shirt I was wearing because I got this at a concert last month, and this is what I was wearing today. And I said to April before I got on, I said, should I just wear my Rick Springfield shirt on the show? Because, there's totally a Star Wars connection. So
Absolutely. And I am wearing a Henley because I forgot to change into a Star Wars shirt. So
it happens.
Quality content, great costumes.
Upstairs was very far away to go change.
I had one lined up and ready to go, and that didn't happen. So I'm not going to pause the show to go change into a Star Wars shirt.
That's
Instead,
okay. Keep
I'm
it real.
Introduce our returning guest. We've got Katie Q joining us. You're hopefully familiar with if you listen to some of the shows on the network. And Katie was with us back in June to kick off our Kenobi coverage. Katie, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm going to say that I'm dressed casual business Sith with my black t-shirt.
Kaz Sith.
Yeah, button up Kaz Sith.
That's
here.
Really good. Yeah. Business Sith casual. That's
keeping it comfortable yet definitely evil.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone listening to the audio is like, I need to check out these amazing outfits.
Oh my God. Yes.
Head over to YouTube.
Yeah,
Yes,
I don't
please.
want you to think that I've actually cosplayed anything Sith. I'm literally just wearing a black t-shirt.
Right. Oh, don't punctuate the illusion. I was there. I was totally there.
I was completely fooled. I thought that was quality cosplay content. And people should head over and subscribe.
I did cosplay as a Sith once. It was like generic Sith person, but I did have heels that made me like 6'5", so that was cool. I don't remember if we talked about that in my backstory.
Oh wow! Oh my God! I don't think I knew that. Oh my God! That's crazy.
Wow. That would be very intimidating, I think.
Yeah, it was really fun.
All right. I've done the Vader Immortal VR thing, and that's probably like a good 6'5", 7 feet tall Vader coming at me. Any kind of Sith coming at you with that kind of height advantage is just oh shit. Yeah,
you get that looming vibe, which is really pinnacle for intimidation factors.
Yeah, for sure. We did your Star Wars introduction last time, so I don't think we need to recap it right now. But what's new in the world of KDQ?
I mean, honestly, as far as Star Wars stuff, I'm still just impatiently waiting for the Bad Batch.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at. Is I just want more Bad Batch immediately. I've already gone through and watched it a second time through, and I just really want the second season.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
As much as we want to see Star Trek Prodigy come back, right? Katie is my cohort.
Oh yes, I am so excited for Star Trek Prodigy. I would much rather have that egotistical, narcissistic main character
if it was a word
rather than Alpha
if it
or
was
Omega.
Absolutely. Word balloon, there would be icicles coming off of it. And I love that you duffed on the name of the main character of the show. You said you can't wait to see. I do it all the time. I can't remember these new characters. There's too many of them. I can't remember them all.
Well, I'm glad to have you on a Star Wars podcast instead of Star Trek, because it sounds like maybe there is a little icicle coming from
I just hate Prodigy. I absolutely cannot stand Prodigy. Okay. Just no Prodigy.
Well, I think that the Boba Fett feelings were pretty strong in this vibe as well.
Fair. Also fair. That was not good.
Yeah. Any other projects that you're hoping to we're going to get into the news very shortly, and we're going to talk about some D23 stuff, but is there anything else? Is it just Bad Batch that you're really looking forward to?
Bad Batch I'm very excited about project-wise, and I don't know if y'all remember when you asked me about my origin stories, I said that my favorite movie was Rogue One. So I was very excited. I actually saw this news yesterday and was going to bring it up to Charlie to talk about, where Rogue One is coming back for a theatrical re-release. And I'm not usually one to go back and rewatch movies in theaters, but I would be tempted to do that.
And right now in Grand Rapids, we do not have it on the books. It's not there. It's not there at North. I keep checking every day. I checked just now. But yeah, here in Grand Rapids, Mark, of which you will have no context because you live in Atlantis. But no, here and we have one of the, and Oxtra is the expert. He knows all about IMAX versus LIMAX, like fake IMAX. Apparently the screen that we have here in Grand Rapids North theaters is the only real honest to God one, or at least it was for the longest time, IMAX screen in the state of Michigan. And if they're not going to have this re-release, that will simply be a travesty that I can do absolutely nothing about and be
I can't imagine that Celebration wouldn't get it in some way, shape, or form, because they're kind of the big like hog of the cinema complex in the greater West Michigan area.
Yeah, so. really. Well, the worst part is just it's a week away. So they must really be holding out on us here. We're totally out of luck because, it's not. I don't know that it's playing anywhere in Michigan. I think I skimmed it and I didn't see it coming anywhere at all. So I'm super bummed. I hope. Well,
maybe I'll just have to watch Rogue One at home and just get some popcorn from the movie theater and go home and eat it.
Yeah, right.
My own theatrical event.
That'll teach them. That'll teach them.
That works. So to jump right into the news, I will catch people up on what we're talking about. So Andor's release is coming up quickly. They're re-releasing Star Wars Rogue One in IMAX theaters Friday, August 26th. So like Charlie said, pretty much a week away. Like this is creeping up on us.
Right.
And it seems to be so far fairly limited release. Sorry, Kate. Right.
Oh, no, I was going to say that you actually got me with both news stories because I'm also very excited about the Acolyte.
Okay. Oh my God. You see, I bring her on your show and she does what she does. She just steamrolls right the fuck over the boat.
That's good. I will stick on Andor for a second because this is pretty big news for a re-release. Like this is the first time out of the trilogy, like they've never re-released pretty much anything other than like the special cuts of the originals before
25 years ago.
This is kind of big stuff, and it could kind of lead the way for maybe more Marvel stuff, more Disney Plus content. Like, let's do a re-release of some MCU movies before a new show, or let's do this is kind of big, right? So like, is there anything else that you guys, let's stick to Star Wars, I guess. Is there any other movie that you guys would love to see re-released in theaters that maybe you missed the first time around or would like to recapture that magic?
I mean, without a doubt, and Todd and I will echo this, seeing the special editions re-released in the theaters in the late 90s was amazing because it all happened in 1 year. I think they did it over the course of 4 months or 6 months, and we were still in college at the time. So it was like it was early 97 was New Hope, and then it was 6 weeks later was Empire, and then 6 weeks after that was Jedi. That was amazing. But the real brass ring that I think would be absolutely amazing to see is that when Disney finally decides to get off their tuchus and pushed George aside and said, here's the originals, and to actually put those in HD, not being the despecialized fake bootleg one that I'm certain I don't own and have shared with people. But to see those in the theaters, that would be beyond amazing. I think the only other re-release I can think of is it was in 2002 or maybe it was later than that. They did a 3D version of Episode 1, and they were going to be like, this will add more huge to the box office, and we'll bring it back and do the rest. And I think it flopped. And so
I probably saw that, but
that pretty much
not sparking a memory for me,
right? Because again, 3D was a fad that gave us Avatar, and you don't want to get me started on Avatar because I absolutely fucking hate Avatar. But I think seeing the original trilogy, and again, Katie and I both live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So when I say Grand Rapids stuff, she's like, "Oh yeah." But the Wealthy Street Theater, which is not at all far from here, which has the tiniest little ass seats, which is why I never go there. They will do revivals. bring back. I saw Flash Gordon there, the 1980 movie, for the only time I've ever seen it there at the Wealthy Street Theater. But they had Empire Strikes Back recently, and I would love to have gone to see it. But I'm thinking about my ass in that seat. Bad experience. But still, like an original cut, despecialized, like done in HD of the original trilogy. I can't think of anything else that would be that much more exciting, except for Rogue One, which I'm afraid I'm not going to get to see.
Katie, what about you? Is it like Rogue One your top choice? You sound pretty excited about that.
I mean, as far as live action goes, that one would probably be it. I would honestly really love to see some. I'm going to go back to like Bad Batch and Clone Wars. I would love to see them remaster the Clone Wars, or like especially like the later stuff, because they did such beautiful cinematography with it. I think seeing like that climactic scene in the season finale where you have like the clone facility sinking into the water, and you have like the light shining through as Omega's trying to like reach for someone. I think that would be absolutely beautiful to see on a larger screen. But also I'm a fan of Dave Filoni in general, and I think that everything would be better in Star Wars if he had a hand in it in some way, shape, or form.
Ooh, and boy, I tell you, there are diehards that are very contrary to that. But I enjoy what comes out. I've enjoyed what he's done.
I do too.
Him and Favreau are the reason that we have, it's two sides. You have stuff that people absolutely love, and then you have Book of Boba Fett. You're definitely
just thinking of that like season 2 Mando finisher on like a big screen.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I was thinking Mando too.
Up the hallway and just like that emotion hitting you with just surround sound, big screen. Holy shit! Yeah.
I've shotgunned that episode several times. Really, that last 4-pack of the Clone Wars with Ahsoka's story during episode 66. Think about that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is it like that scene?
Yeah, one of our very early episodes of this show, we streamlined and did just that. It was myself and Mark and Alex, who was one of the guys who used to record with. I think that's the finest work finest animated work that they've done is that 4-parter. It was great. Oh my god, it was great.
Man, you guys got me thinking now about TV shows that I'd like to see on the big screen, because my original answer was going to be Solo, because it's the only, and we talked about this last week with Alan. If you didn't listen to that episode, because it's a long one, don't be intimidated by the length. It was a great show. True. But I mentioned that I didn't really give Solo a fair shake the first time it came out, because there was so much negativity surrounding the filming of it and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of missed that one in theaters, or maybe waited and saw it in a small, crappy kind of theater, kind of like Charlie, your experience that you're talking about. Like,
it's a Wealthy Street
I know theater. It wasn't like, I remember like seeing that movie and being like, I should have seen this like opening night, biggest screen possible, like best.
We went and saw Solo. I'll never forget it. It was the night that my stepson, April's son, graduated from high school. So he had shit to do, and we went to go see Star Wars. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah.
That is cool. Well, I can't wait to see, if you guys get to see it. The closest IMAX theater to me is a good 5-hour drive away. So next week, not in the cards for me, but this is, I'll probably still watch Rogue One before Andor, and do maybe Katie, you're onto something there. I think ordering some movie theater popcorn, getting in
well, Katie,
ordeal, turn the lights down. And
you live a lot closer to the theater than I do, but I'll still go because I got my buckets.
Exactly.
Yeah, Katie, if I hear about, keep checking it, but as soon as I know, I'll let you know, and then we can all go, because that would be sweet. If we're available, yes.
Perfection. Katie, you already mentioned the Acolyte. There's rumors.
Spoilers.
About that. It's very. I love just the quick moving through the news. So let's move on to this one, because this is. We don't usually talk about sketchy rumors on this show.
Yes,
we usually wait till things are like solid, reputable sources, confirmed news from Disney.
Not the Bespin Bulletin.
Yeah,
what the hell is that?
This is coming from some weird Twitter shit. Bespin Bulletin, like, take this with not only a grain of salt, maybe a fistful of salt. Like, really
how about like a salt lick? Katie, you'll appreciate
I was just going to say, really go horse-sized salt lick on this one. But we've got some rumors that Darth Plagueis is going to appear in Star Wars Acolyte. This would be the first time seeing this character in live action. We heard, the tales of Darth Plagueis, the wise. Yeah. What Katie, let's start with you. What are you thinking about this news and your hype levels for the Acolyte?
I mean, I'm excited about Stenberg coming on as a cast member. I think they'll be fantastic. I think that they'll be able to bring something really great to the table. I mean, I'm more interested, or I should say what has kind of caught my interest is the fact that Leslie Headland from Russian Doll is heading it up. Because I enjoyed that show. So I'm interested to see what they do with it. And as I have mentioned before, as much as I am not a Sith, or I could not be a Sith, I just don't have the evil in me. I think that the aesthetic was really, really cool. So anytime they do stuff with the baddies, I'm 100% on board. So the fact that this is, right at the end of the High Republic, the placement's a little bit different. We're not getting the same timeline of, right before or right after, the original trilogy. So I'm really curious as to where this is going to go. So I don't know very much about Plagueis himself or themselves as a character. So that part I was just like, oh, okay, cool. I guess I'll figure out who they are when we watch the show. But I'm just excited about the show in general.
Well, so far we have really two things for Plagueis. And one of them is now Legends. So that's a novel that talked about, Star Wars. I think that was... what was that called? Anyway, it was a novel about
it was
Sidious,
just James Lucern's Plagueis, unless there's something else. Okay.
Oh, maybe it was just called Plagueis. Anyway, it was about Sidious and Plagueis and talked about that downfall and whatever. And the others basically so if that's Legends, really the only thing we have is that just offhanded comment that the character exists canonically in Revenge of the Sith. So they can do whatever the hell they want at this point, because we know that most of the Legend stuff has been thrown out.
Right. It's just a name.
Some ideas or names or whatever, but they can run with anything. Literally just
go ahead and run with scissors. Do it.
Yep. I'm excited to see if that's true, if it will lead up, because I mean they could eventually, I guess, introduce the character depending on how long the character has lived or will live. We've got some Sidious.
It's very fuzzy. Yeah, because obviously, but with what we're going to talk about later in the show, the movie that we're going to cover, Sidious his age is super fuzzy. He's cloned over and over and over again, which was definitely a piece of the Legends piece of it. And cloning was his jam, and he grew Snoke and blah blah blah. So how many times had he been cloned? So how old was he really? Right? I mean, he could have been hundreds of years old. The first, the mortal version of him was the senator from Naboo, but you don't really know if he was really mortal at that point at all. He could have been the 50th generation of a clone who was born 500 years previous. You never know.
We also don't know species-wise anything about Plagueis. So it could be like Chewbacca's 250 years old, Yoda's 900. Fuck it. Could be a character that's these characters live for 5,000 years. Don't worry about it.
Well, if it's Star Wars, he'll end up being Yoda's dad. Watch out. Oh,
absolutely. I can't wait to learn more about this show. So we'll be talking about it here for sure. But I did want to mention that just because it's kind of a slow news week and it's a cool character, I think, that they could have some fun with.
I love it.
The last little bit is a place where we mentioned it before. I think we're going to be hearing more stuff about some Star Wars content at D23. But today we just got the official announcement that there's a Marvel Disney Star Wars game showcase happening for D23.
Nice.
early in September 9th.
September 9, which is the day after Star Trek Day. So much going on.
Yes, appear to be overshadowed. Star Trek.
That's going to be a very busy recording weekend for the Secret Friends United Network, I think. So much.
Absolutely. This is going to be hosted by Kinda Funny's Blessing Adeoye Jr., who, if you're not familiar with video game stuff, he is just delightful. He's great. And I'm very excited for this as both a video game fan, a Marvel fan, a Star Wars fan, a Disney game fan, a Disney fan in general. This is exciting stuff. They've already said that they're going to be highlighting Disney Dreamlight Valley, which my wife is just over the moon excited for. Marvel Midnight Suns, which aesthetically I'm very excited for, but it's a card-based game.
Oh, weird.
Not usually my jam. But I might try it just because it's Midnight Suns and it looks badass. And Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, which had DLC that's already wrapped up. So this could be brand new content, or they could just be like, look how great our game is.
The only thing about their DLC, they were just character packs. There were no extra levels to play. So that's the drag. So that's where April and I, this was the first game that we played together. We got really wrapped up in it for about 3 or 4 weeks. We were playing it. I think we killed a weekend. We're like, we're just going to keep going. And we got to the point where we got to the tasks that were too annoying to do. And so we just quit. But if they were to drop some DLC levels, we get back into it, and maybe that'll be our inspiration to finally finish it, because we got to 98.7% completeness. I mean, we really killed it.
Holy. So there are another couple of things they could talk about, the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order and Amy Hennig's new Star Wars game. So that's another one from EA. She's the former Uncharted lead. If you're not familiar with the Uncharted games, they're basically just like Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that movie with,
I was just going to say, if you're not a video game fan, Charlie, did you see the movie?
We did. We saw it right away, and Tom Holland is just so damn charming. He could use those Spider-Man shit in that movie with all the stuff he got into. Him and Marky Mark. Oh my god.
Absolutely. Yeah. My parents just watched that last weekend, and I kind of, I was there, but not really watching it with them, kind of thing. And they really enjoyed it. And I was like, yeah, it's based off a great video game series. And I'm very excited to see what Amy's new game is all about. What do you guys think about this? So, Charlie, you're not a huge video game guy, but
no, I mean,
Lego Star Wars.
You say Lego Star Wars. Yeah, you say Lego Star Wars. Now, whoa, what? Look, a blue car. It gets my ADD right in the mix. No, that's what I love, but I love original content. And Mark, because we've talked about it, and I've even sat in when you've had a gamer on this, and they're like, we're going to talk about Battlefront. And I'm like, I've watched the cutscenes movie, so I can talk about a lot of it. And I have, and I love Battlefront. Mark, I know that Fallen Order was more your thing. I've watched it several times. And Battlefront just really got to me because it was more of an X-Wing thing. But I also love Cameron Monaghan as an actor, loved him in Shameless. It's one of our favorite shows. Loved his take on the Joker, so he's awesome. And of course, that's another one of those persistent sketchy rumors that, we're going to get him in Ahsoka, we're going to get him live action.
Did you see the interview that he just did?
No, tell me.
I can't even remember what the interview was for. I saw like a little clip of it on TikTok, but it was basically someone asking like, is there any talks about bringing Cal to live action? And he had this little shit-eating grin on his face, and he was like, of course there's talks. And he's like, I think that's all I can say, or they'll kill me. And like, it's very kind of jokey, but it was just like,
yeah, we Irish are really good at that. Like the
happening. And I think it's a matter of when and not if. Why else would they model the character after him?
Right, and then keep bringing him back and bringing him back and bringing him back, not just letting him fade out. Exactly. So yeah.
So I'm very excited for this. Katie, how you feeling about all this showcase? Anything exciting you in there?
I played some of Fallen Order. I did not make it through. I think I basically got through Dalthmere, but that's just because I really like the witches. And then at that point I was like, I think I'm done. I would say that if the game was good, I just wish there were like a few tweaks in it, like some fast travel aspects or something. Because once you get all the way down to the bottom of a planet and then you got to travel all the way back up. And it was very obvious it was not a finished game. And so I'm hoping that with the response folks got with the game, they get the time to actually finish it and really polish it out, because that would be really great. And I think it could be a really, really awesome game. And anytime I get more BD, I'd be super great with that, because he's a cute little droid.
Instantly one of my favorite duos and favorite droids.
Oh yeah, and that's like all of the characters were really great. Everything about it was really good. It got kind of tedious for me, and then that's when I was like, okay, like it's more frustrating than fun at this point.
That's where we ended up with Lego Star Wars.
It's so for me, I'm a big Metroid fan, and if you're a Metroid fan, you've been playing that like me from the original NES days of like, if you want to get somewhere, you're walking back through the entire level. So I totally understand the frustration, and I did find myself treating Fallen Order like an Assassin's Creed game or something like that, where I was just like, I know where I need to go on the map. Just fast travel me there. Let's go. This has been done before. But then I'll go and play a Metroid game, and it's like, well, fast travel doesn't exist. I have to go traverse my way back through. And there's like something in my brain that I have to turn, because there's other games that I'm like, I need fast travel or I'm out. This one, for some reason, I was able to hit that switch and just enjoy it as a Metroidvania game. But like, I think it's because it's so action oriented that people, there's something about it that it reminds people, myself included, of other games where you can fast travel, and there's those little quality of life improvements that you expect in this type of game. And because of that expectation, when it doesn't deliver, it's like you either have that switch that you can flip, or you're like, nah, fucking I'm out. So, and you're not nearly at all the first person to say that. Like, it's a very, very common problem. I wonder if they're going to address it, or they're just going to double down. And holy shit, speaking of video game news, Wave Race 64 is coming to Switch Online. I don't know if anyone listening cares, but that's one of my favorite games.
Okay. Hey, you know what? As Katie is fond of saying, if that makes you happy, it makes me happy for you. Right?
I'm waiting for this for a year, and I'm making Wave Race on almost every episode of Co-op Mode. That's my video game rant of the year. Charlie,
I remember this game.
I'm in trouble now.
It's just jet skis, and you can ride a dolphin through the waves. It's so magical. I love it.
But when it came out, you were like, look at these crystal clear beaches.
Yes. It's so great. Oh man, Charlie, I can't get mad at you for mentioning Star Trek, because I just went on a video game rant.
Okay.
But let's get back to it.
One must be true to oneself.
There we go. Let's jump into the meat of this episode, and that is episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. We're done our rewatch saga.
Wow.
Today.
It's been a long road.
This has been a while. This has been going for a while. We took a little break for when did we start this? Was it just after Boba Fett, or did we start it before Boba Fett? This has been going on for a bit.
No. We started because we did it, numerically. So we started with episode 1. God, no, that must have been before Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Maybe after Visions. Yeah, maybe, because we did Visions in the Blast. I don't know, but yeah, it's been a long time, and it's been broke up, so it's been going on for a year, maybe 9 months. Yeah, a very long time.
We've been going on for a bit, and I'm both happy and sad to reach the end, because this has been fun. It's been such a fun excuse to not only rewatch the films, which I do a couple of times a year anyway, but watch them in a sense of like, why is this important? What are my favorite moments of this? What's the good that I can grab out of every single Star Wars movie, whether it's at the top of my list and it's a moment that like has defined and shaped my life, or it's my least favorite Star Wars film, which is still a great film for me, but like, like I want to pick out my favorite characters, my favorite scenes, my favorite moments. Why is this important? And looking at the saga overall and saying like, this is important because of this, and this fits into this overall. And it's been such a fun way to watch these. I don't know, Charlie, if you feel the same way, or for me, it was never tedious going through these. It's been really, really interesting.
For me, I'll reference it back to Star Trek. It's kind of like I would even say just watching an episode or even watching a movie. And again, right now, Peter, who's our other cohort on Code 47, we're watching Star Trek, the original series. We're at the end of that show when it was really, really not very good. But there's always something to glean from even the worst episode of an amazing performance or something. Like I'm watching a really bad one right now. But the significance of it is that it featured the first interracial kiss that was ever on television, an episode called Plato's Stepchildren. Kirk and Uhura kiss because we're the Leylands are making them do it. But it was landmark, but the rest of the episode is garbage. So there's always a little something. And even I was messaging you guys not long before we got on. I'm like, man, the third act of this movie is like they're Star Wars and the shit out of it. There's the explosions, and the vehicles, and there's the fighting and the this thing and that thing. And then Katie's like, yes, it's a lot of action strung together with total chaos. And
how did Alan describe it last week? It was like a fantastic greatest hits album.
Yes.
That's just kind of like strung together with explosions or something. It was something along those lines. It was a fantastic way to just like
it's the best. It's the best of the Eagles or it's Journey's greatest hits. Everybody's got it.
Yeah, that's it for sure. So let's just start off. What did you guys think of this? We'll start with you, Katie. What's your overall just kind of like view of the Rise of Skywalker? This is a divisive one, right?
Very divisive.
Either love or hate it. So how do you feel?
I will be honest, I think this is only the second time I've watched it. I think that I have watched it in theaters, and then now I have watched it a second time through. I think I might have been seeing like bits and parts of it, when it's on in the background at my brother's house or something like that.
Yeah.
And I liked it better this time around. I still feel like the plot, I was going to say the plot feels like it fell apart at the end, but I would say it feels very much like Abrams was like, we're just going to ignore the second movie and we'll just make the second and third movie I wanted to make, but put them into one movie. Cause I was watching it and like halfway through, I was like, I think you could just not watch the second movie and you would not miss anything.
And I agree.
Luke being a ghost could be easily explained away, but yeah, you're right.
There's a lot of stuff, and Charlie, sorry, to that scene specifically, Luke coming out as a ghost in this was such a glaring course correction,
right?
Whether you liked the Last Jedi or not, it was like that specific thing was like he catches the lightsaber. Jedi's weapon deserves more respect, and at the start of like the last movie, he tosses it right. And
it's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's like there's a lot of those little things, like Katie said, that seems like it's either a course correction or they're rewriting or whatever.
Right.
That one to me, and I've seen it a few times now. That one always sticks out as like, oh no, that was him just being like,
yeah,
go make spoons in because Knives Out was great, but it was like that. But like leave the Star Wars.
No. I was going to say it's not spoons in. It's knifey spoony. That's a Simpsons.
Knifey spoony.
You played knifey spoony before from my favorite Simpsons episode, Bart versus Australia. Knifey spoony.
Fantastic episode. So Katie, what? You said you like it better this time?
Yes. Just because it still feels very rushed. And I think it's because I was so thrown by spoilers. If you haven't seen, I guess, why are you listening to this podcast if you haven't seen it?
In 2 years, yes.
By the kiss at the end, I was just so completely thrown by that it kind of tainted my entire view. Because I was like, what are they, like, because for me, I had seen them almost like a sibling rivalry rather than a romantic rivalry, especially with like the will they won't they with Flint or with Finn. I mean, and granted, like I feel like they were just giving that actor like constant, like just say it with more smolder, because I feel like every time he was talking to a woman, there was supposed to be smolder there.
Right.
Just anyone.
So much smolder.
But I just, it threw me in such a way. I was just really off put because it felt reductive to the characters.
Mm.
And so kind of knowing that was coming, I could watch it with kind of a clearer lens and also really appreciate just the settings and the cinematography. Like you were saying, like this was definitely another greatest hits of just the visuals of Star Wars, which was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They, and I find like they where the last movie we talked about how, you know, some things were kind of flipped and, you know, the ice planet turned out to be a salt planet, or this looked like that, but was kind of like flipped on its head. This one was just like, nah, screw it. We're just taking you straight to Endor, straight to Tatooine. We're going to show you this. We're going to show you that. Right. And it was more in your face greatest hits, kind of like J.J. Abrams kind of style, I think, a little bit of, you know, we saw that with The Force Awakens too, right? Like it was just like, you liked Star Wars, well, like it again, because here we go.
It was the old the greatest is one guy say, "Oh, hey brother, let me borrow this record album." "Oh no, my brother, you've got to get your own." Like from Say Anything. It was. I mean, whether he was aping that very end bit where it was, you know, hey, here's Wicket with, you know, Mrs. Wicket or whatever, and they're just watching stuff crash down in, you know, Cloud City. And the one on Jakku killed me because I'm like, I said it now. I'm like, oh my god, more shit in the desert on Jakku. It's like they just they can't get a
scrappers are gonna,
you know, they can't get a break. There's going to be a whole new chop field of crap. But anyway, not to get too into the weeds.
We usually talk favorite characters. There wasn't too many characters introduced in this one. There are a few. Zori, Babu Frick. For me, Janna. Babu Frick is a gem. Janna and those like defected stormtroopers. I really wish had more time. Right. And well, probably a good.
You don't know a single other one of them. I mean, did any of them have a line or have anything? Babu Frick, April. Anytime she loves all your cutesy. She loves Grogu. She loves BB-8. She loves Dio, the little cone robot guy.
Dio, oh my goodness. His little, no thank you, please. No thank you.
No thank you.
Exactly. Oh, it just breaks your heart.
Such a polite little PTSD robot. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh. And then, of course, Babu Frick, who we're getting back in The Mandalorian Season 3. We're getting him back. That was some of that unleaked Mando, which drives me nuts that we don't have that Mando Season 3 trailer that they showed at Celebration, which is just insane.
Especially where that was the other news story that I ended up cutting because it's a sketchy rumor, but like apparently they've already greenlit Season 4 of Mando, so we haven't even seen a trailer for Season 3. We've got
we haven't seen a trailer. The Chosen have seen the trailer, which is just, it's a little ridiculous. But you know what? From the propaganda machine working overtime, they probably don't want to take too much of the shine off of Andor by doing something else. So,
solid point. Yeah. So favorite new characters that were introduced or kind of like spins on old characters, any stood out for you guys, Katie?
I mean, Chewie is an oldie but a goodie. Like when he finds out about Leia's passing, he like falls to his knees and starts screaming and like digging in the like heart breaks.
Yeah,
he's lost time. Now he's lost everybody, which
I know, and it was so like, and it was one of those things where it's like, okay, so Rey and Ben are sitting there like, oh, she's gone. And he just like this 7-foot tall behemoth just crumbles. And I'm like, oh my goodness, poor baby. Someone give that poor fuzzy dog a hug, please.
Yeah, it really breaks me every single time.
And then Bio also just adorable. Every time. Adorable. Yeah. I like the little broken things that need hugs.
Oh, right, yes.
Or big broken things in Chewie's.
Put them together, just one arm, and there you go. Oh, my God.
We, again, going back to the last episode, we talked with Alan about the original script for Episode 9, Colin Trevorrow's original script, and Finn having more of an arc with those troopers, with the defective troopers, Janna and the rest of them, and them coming in as kind of the cavalry, with Finn leading with a lightsaber in this time. So we got some hints of Force sensitivity, but I really, in a lot of ways, like Finn does get a lot of screen time in this, and he's, Poe comes at him and he's like, I can't do this alone. You're my co-general. Let's do this. And there's still a lot of Finn in this movie, but it's still, I have trouble watching this one knowing what they could have done, I guess, like always being like, they're so close to Jedi Finn. Why wouldn't you just say, and that's what he wanted to tell Rey in the desert. That's what he wanted to tell Rey. That's his big secret. First time watching it, I thought, and I think a lot of other people thought, like, I have feelings for you.
You're right.
No, it's his big secret is I'm force sensitive, and he drops a whole bunch of hints of saying to Jana, everything's real. It's all real, which was great throwback to Han Solo. Right. His, feeling when Rey dies on Exegol, like he just stops and grabs the wall, and it's like, he knows things. He knows even like which ship the transmission's coming from that they have to go destroy and all that kind of stuff. Like they do everything other than say it. So you get your redemption in the Lego Star Wars movies. The some one, which we didn't talk about. We have to get to that.
It absolutely, that's a component of it. I won't ruin too much more of it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's like my big hang up with it too, is that it made it seem like the way that it was written, it made it seem like Finn was just hung up on this idea of who Rey was. Instead of it being him trying to commiserate with her over like being force sensitive and trying, because like me watching it, I feel super cringe about the way his character treats Rey, because it just constantly feels like I get reminiscence of the guys that would feel like they had an idea of who a woman was and then get feelings for that version and then try to like shoehorn that in. Right. And it feels like that's what happened at the get-go. And instead of him getting over that and moving on, it seems like he never really got that arc. And so it makes his character really, really muddled. And I just feel like they kind of did him wrong that way.
Yeah, for sure. Right. That was a question about favorite characters, and I just completely flipped it into like, I hate what they did with that. So I'm going to go back and say,
but I think you can appreciate the character and not like how they treated the character.
And I do. There's some certain things that I like. I absolutely love, like his Poe when they land on the destroyer trying to rescue Chewie. And they go, which way? No idea. Follow me. That's the most Han Solo, Indiana Jones shit anyone has ever said in Star Wars, and it came from Finn. I love it. It's great. Yeah. But we and another one we mentioned our favorite character on the last episode, and that's Rose. And
poor Rose.
So, and here's my problem with this is a lot of my problems with this movie are behind the scenes problems.
Yeah.
Because in universe, Leia keeping Rose as a close, trusted advisor, making sure that she's the one detailing the plans of how this is going to work, because Rose is so important to Leia and to the Resistance. And she knows the mission of, again, let's recap, the protecting what you love, not attacking what you hate. Right. The whole crux of her character in the last movie. That is incredible for Rose in universe as a character. But dismissing her with that line and then basically not seeing her again until the end, it's just like, hey, we won, cool, thanks.
Yeah, I know.
Just sidelining the actor and the character and basically kind of giving Zori that they win by making you think you're alone. There's more of us. Like Zori delivered that, and that's a very Rose feeling line.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, eat it up.
So it's like for me, I have trouble differentiating what this movie is and what happened behind the scenes and what I know could have happened and all that kind of stuff. So it's minorly frustrating, but this time around I did try to watch it with I'm going to say like my mom, because my mom's watched this movie a bunch of times, and I talked to her about it this weekend because I knew we were going to be recording. And she just watched it with my nephew last week. And she was just like, yeah, I just love it. It's like such a cool thing. They bring back, Lando and this and that. And she always thought Lando was like such a cool, like suave character and stuff. And like,
totally. It's not wrong.
Yeah, if you don't kind of know the bullshit, like, yeah, I guess this is kind of like that, like we said, the greatest hits. It's
So you're saying you're saying it suffers from potentially being over-informed or informed at all?
I think I do, for sure. I don't know. Do you guys feel the same way?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like you said, being informed, Katie, to your point, being informed to the fact that there's so very little in The Last Jedi that you need to push things forward and understand what's going on in this movie, because this movie begins and Kylo Ren is the boss. And he's killing and hacking away and blah, blah, and he finally finds his way to the big bad. And, in the first film, all you saw was Snoke as a hologram, so he could have just been a puppet the whole time. Maybe nobody ever met him, and he was just the Emperor. It was just the Wizard of Oz, so you didn't have to have the throne room with Snoke's guards and the big fight and yada, yada, yada. And, some other shit could have happened behind the scenes where you would have just jumped from seeing Luke, kind of eye banging the camera at the end of the last, or at the end of The Force Awakens, to seeing him as a ghost. I'm like, oh, he became a ghost. Was he a ghost then? It doesn't really matter. He's a ghost now, and he's saying the things that you would want Luke to say instead of being, kind of a grumpy old bastard, which played fine in that movie. But again, yeah, you're right. I haven't heard it, Katie. I've not heard it said it that way. But yeah, you could. There's so very little of The Last Jedi that is necessarily informing of driving things forward in this movie. So yeah, it felt a whole lot like JJ came back in and was like, "Oh boy, okay. Well, this was really my arc for it. So let me move this and push this and do this, and we'll have this line and do this thing, and we'll shuffle this piece around." And he was just playing Jenga and Tetris the whole time with that script, trying to move things around to make The Last Jedi go away.
So I will ask a similar question. So last week, famous Seamus in our Discord, and I forgot to post questions for this week. I apologize. So I'm going to kind of recycle and kind of spin that one from last week, which was, has this movie changed your enjoyment of the Last Jedi? For my question this time, has the content that's come since, novels, comics, even Mandalorian dealing with some cloning stuff, has any of that changed how you feel about Rise of Skywalker coming back, talking about it now, does any of it make you feel less retconny and more like, yes, this was the plan all along? Palpatine's been playing everyone. While you guys think of that, for me, it does a little bit, to be honest. Like, especially the Mando stuff and Grogu and the Empire. Even back then, the Empire you think is crumbled, but they're still working in the background. They're still Hydra, hiding in plain sight kind of thing. And they're still pulling the strings and doing all this evil shit and looking into cloning and looking into force sensitive cloning specifically. And they want Grogu and all this kind of stuff. These weird little threads that they've been very slowly pulling at in Mandalorian. And I think we might possibly even get hints of that in the Bad Batch. For me, and I've started the novel with what's it called? The new one with Luke and Lando and Rey's parents.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, it basically informs on.
It's them chasing Ochi. Yeah. There's a lot of this stuff that's now adding to my enjoyment of this movie and making it, when I turn off my brain, making it feel a little less like, J.J. Abrams just wanted to fix some shit. Like, it makes it feel more cohesive. Have you guys experienced that, or are you still like, I know what's going on?
I definitely feel that way a little bit more, as I was saying, about almost anything. If I see it again, and then like going back and watching an older Star Trek, this thing or that thing, or even something outside of that, and like, okay, well, I'm aware of this other thing or this other aspect of it. And Star Wars is, I'm not going to say unique in that, but because everything that they have with, post Disney acquisition is under one umbrella, they don't really have, with the exception of Visions and maybe some of the IDW, like Vader's Castle and like kids stuff, is considered to be a single cohesive universe. kind of plays both ways. When you get too deep into the weeds, it's, what did Lando have for breakfast, the Tuesday after Cloud City got evacuated. But then it can also inform on the period of time, which I know Todd's very fixated on, and I agree with him, and that is that let's just get past Return of the Jedi, maybe a few years past it where we've got Mando, but there's still a story to tell, and we're finding out that, the Empire was so big that, crashing a Star Destroyer and then into the Death Star and then blowing up the Death Star and knock over a few statues is not the end of the Empire. The Empire is so much deeper than that. And this film takes that to another level, because there was Empire, then there was the First Order, which was like the emo goth kid spinoff, but then there was the Final Order with the 1,000 ships and the sexy red uniforms and the big guns on the bottom of the ship that was basically a Death Star weapon. I mean, the Final Order is where it was at. So yeah, there's layers. There's layers to it. I would be interested in this book that you're talking about. I'm more of an audiobook guy, but I'm back enough still trying
It is available as an audiobook. I toss back and forth between which one to get, but I'm reading the actual book.
I'm still trying to get through the Aftermath trilogy, which was what happened in that year between Empire and then essentially the end of what happened between Return of the Jedi and essentially the end of the Empire, as it were, where the armistice was signed, the New Republic formed, and the Battle of Jakku was the big piece, like you saw at the end of Battlefront 2, which I love. So yeah, there are pieces that inform upon that, and I think that yes, I enjoy this a little bit more in different ways. Like I was telling you guys, I was really enjoying the third act, the big space fight, and this thing and that thing, and then the big slug out with Kylo and his ex biker gang, and how he was chopping them up. The dyad in the Force, and doing the magic trick. Ray was like, "Is this your card?"
He's such a mood in that scene, just like
it's so
everything.
Great.
Holy shit! Just land like the parallels with Kylo Ren landing on Exegol and going down, and then Ben landing on there, and he's so Han Solo from just jumping headfirst down onto the giant chain. Hello, kitten.
Ow.
To the no look shot, to the shrug, the like taking a breath with the lightsaber. Holy balls! Right. That's a great scene. Katie, same kind of question. Anything else, or like, were you kind of like okay with this from the start?
I wasn't okay with it from the start. I do remember watching it and being like, what the hell is going? I'm like, first off, if this is a place that no one can get, how are people getting there enough to get supplies for an entire fleet of star destroying shit? Like the word did not get out at all. Well, this is being made. Okay, sure.
It's full of kyber crystals, or they're getting them from somewhere.
Yeah, right. I'm like, what is going on?
Crewed by 10,000 people each, so that's
right. And like you've had the time to train this entire fleet and build this entire fleet, and no one knows about it. And it's also in an area that no one can get to, and no one knows where it is. Okay, sure. Okay, suspend that belief.
There's a back door. There's a back door.
Yeah.
They got the back.
I have not really read any of the comics, nor have I read any of the books. And so for me, like, yes, I can see where with the Mandalorian, they're trying to fill in the gaps of like, oh no, he was always into cloning and trying to live forever. But it kind of goes to the problem for me is twofold, where like looking at the MCU, it is a cohesive narration within that. Like you do not have to read comic books to understand what is going on within the MCU. And in fact, and granted, I understand there are different universes, different galaxies, yes. But it makes it cohesive where you don't have to do what I always called the Lost problem of like, I don't know if you all remember when people were watching Lost, like had to go on the forums and you had to like find out all of these like and read huge threads about what the directors were intending. I am not going to watch a show ever where I have to do that. That's too much time and energy. But I feel like if they can't keep it cohesive within the narrative that they're trying to tell, where they're like, oh, well, if you read these other 6 books, that will make it make more sense. Like, yes, those books can enrich it, but it shouldn't be critical to the story to be able to grab onto it.
Nailed it.
My other problem is I am really sick of Sidious. Like, I realized watching this, I'm like, he's been the bad guy this entire time. Through all of the movies, it's only been him. We've had multiple heroes. We've had multiple hero leads. But it's just always been him, and it feels very one note at this point because it's like, oh, well, he's just this evil monster, and that's what evil is. Yeah. Like, it's not that there are bad people, who make bad decisions and who can, be self-centered and vicious and cruel. It is, nope, he is possessed with all of the past Sith lords. And so he has just become this apex of evil.
Right.
And it just feels very, I mean, this is going to sound funny saying where it's a story about space wizards and, giant, two-legged dogs, but it feels very unrealistic.
Right.
Because the evil is just this like big bad.
That's the
other
belief,
humanity.
Belief you can't suspend is the all-encompassing
like that.
evil.
On a flip side, like I don't know. For me, I kind of dig that because Sidious is always playing space chess while everyone else is playing, at best, space checkers, and most of the time, like space shoots and ladders. Like this guy's so far ahead of everyone else that it makes sense that he's the one pulling the strings. Kind of like, I mean, through back to the MCU reference, like kind of like Thanos, like always in the background, this looming threat, and like you had the Infinity Saga that, Thanos was really only a villain in a couple, but he was always kind of in the background lurking. And
it was happening. New York happened because of him, and this thing happened because of him.
And I would agree if the rest of the galaxy didn't have to be so absolutely brain dead for it to work. Because it's not that he's playing chess, he's playing shoots and ladders, and everybody else is sitting at the board going, I don't understand.
They're picking their nose.
Right? They're trying to climb the chutes and ride down the ladders.
Right.
So I'm like, literally, again, this dude built an entire armada and nobody noticed.
The more times you say it, the more just absolutely ridiculous it is, because they're like, oh, we can't get there because we got to fly through all this red rocks and stuff, and and then how did they possibly?
I mean, literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people coming together to build this, and literally no one knew about it.
Right. I mean, and like I said, they had a crew. There were 1,000 Star Destroyers. A Star Destroyer has 10,000 to 50,000 people on each one. Mm-hmm. I'm not great at math, but that's a whole lot. Like I said, everybody came in from the back door. That's how they got money.
That is 100% just how it happened. And it's I'll go to a DC reference on this. It's the Joker at the start of the Dark Knight. Just, he hires all these people to help him, and then just gets them to shoot each other, and he's the one that shoots the last guy, and he's like, yeah, here's my fleet.
Yeah, he did. He killed it. It's like in Clerks. Katie, you'll not appreciate this because you won't watch Clerks. We had a long conversation about personal responsibility in choosing a construction job, because the one clerk is saying to the other clerk, well, that Death Star wasn't, you think the average stormtrooper knows anything about installing a toilet main? All they know is killing in white uniforms. Mm-hmm. So any independent contractor on that Death Star who died when it was blown up, it was a personal decision. So it was the same thing. Same thing. Mm-hmm. Mark is chuckling. Mark, you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about Clerks this very next week on Code 47. Katie refused to be a part of it, which I understand.
Good enough.
Yes.
I like Clerks. It's good stuff. I haven't watched that movie in a while. I'm gonna have to go revisit that.
We need a third chair. It might end up being you.
Give me a shout. I'll see if I can rewatch it.
All right.
It's been years. I definitely need to rewatch. Okay. Let's jump back in. I want to get your favorite scenes from this movie. For me, this there's a lot to go with here. So I'm going to start with you guys on this one. Katie, any favorite scenes that jump out?
You've already mentioned it. It's the Ben shrug after he gets that lightsaber, and they're all standing around. He's like, hey guys.
That was the meme of Han Solo, where the top of it is the Great Harvest Bread, but it's burned out and says Great Vest Bro, and he's going,
yes,
that's the thing, Great Vest Bro.
It kills me that we just didn't get more Ben in this. Because he's there for just that one little section, and it needed so much more Ben in this.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Just more Ben in general. I would have loved, absolutely. And there, I came up with a way that they could kind of bring him back, kind of thing, for either as a Force ghost or kind of Same way they brought Ahsoka back, although that shouldn't work twice. There's some holes, but I mean, it's Star Wars. And
The
they want to bring Adam Driver back, they're going to bring him back. But
the doors between the galaxy and the Crystal Skull and everything. Yes, exactly.
He's an amazing actor.
I think it'd be really interesting as a dyad for him to be gone and for Rey to start losing her way because he's gone. Because I think the dyad.
Oh, gotcha.
And with her weakened. Finn has to be the one that goes and brings him back. So it's Finn kind of confronting his hatred for Kylo Ren and the First Order and all that stuff that he tried to run from, and now he's running straight towards it to save Rey.
That'd be cool.
I'd like that. That's the only way I could really see them kind of bringing him back or doing something that I think would be interesting character wise, kind of centering on Finn, but bringing Adam Driver and Ben back and trying to get Finn to separate Ben from Kylo and can you, because that's always been a thing in Star Wars, even with the originals, like, oh, Darth Vader killed billions of people across the galaxy, but like, cool, like off camera there's like, just the younglings and he's a Force ghost and he's like, hey, what's up, what did I miss? And it's like, dude. And, it's like, come on, man. Like, what the hell? How did you get to become a Force ghost? You were terrible up to 30 seconds ago.
I read a book.
Yes. Thank you. That was the weirdest conversation with Obi-Wan, where people are like, oh, well, no, but Vader is different than... I'm like, no, Vader didn't actually kill Anakin. Anakin and Vader are the same person. Anakin just made bad choices.
I know.
Constantly.
That is so gaslighting, narcissistic behavior of Anakin. It's terrible. I hate it.
Yep. Any other scenes stand out, Katie?
I loved the scenes of Rey on the skimmer. Just the entire, like, those big ocean scenes with the waves. Again, that was one of the, like, my one of the cinematography favorites of mine of the movie, is just that entire fight scene with the waves crashing through. And, this kind of goes back to what I was talking about on Secret Friends Unite yesterday of, I just love it when there's those larger than life moments of just these forces of nature that are so overwhelming to the person who's in this. So anytime you get to see like the person who's like teeny tiny and it's super big stuff that they have to, I'm like, oh, gives me chills.
Right. Yep. Totally.
Charlie.
Well, like I said, like I had echoed earlier, I like the pew pew explosion-y third act, really all the space stuff. That great visual when it's not a navy, it's just people, like what looks like 1,000 ships just goes boop 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 boop, and just all that, and the Falcon drops down, and honest to God, Eagle Eye, the Ghost is right behind you. The Ghost from Rebels is right there. So, which is, you see, the Ghost from Rebels is also in Rogue One. So that show has, that ship has had life outside of that show. I dug it. The little, Lando's was almost really more of a cameo than anything, but you also get Wedge back as a cameo. And the story was not without stakes. You lost big fat Greg Grunberg as Snap Wexley, who has a great backstory in this aftermath novel that I've been watching. Wedge was actually his stepfather, and his mother was a rebel pilot at Endor, and there's a whole backstory. So that kind of was like, oh, I really kind of liked him. I met him at Wizard World in Chicago in 2019. Very nice guy. So that was kind of a bummer. Loved Babu Frick. That's always makes April smile. Excited that we're getting him back, but this had the most kind of Star Warsiness for me at the end there, but with the absolutely incomprehensible, how do they build this damn fleet?
There's so many little scenes. I'm gonna run through a few because there's a bunch. It's so stupid. I know it's stupid, but it gets me every time, and I always chuckle. Lightsaber versus flashlight.
That is such a great scene. Yes.
The underground, and they're just like, everyone's alive. It's like, and C-3PO's like, hey, I was alive too. No one said my name. And it's just like, there's so many of those stupid little gags. And then Rey lights the lightsaber, and Finn Poe lights the flashlight, and then they just look at each other and Finn looks at him like, no,
man,
you don't have the biggest stick under here. just it's so stupid, but every single time. And on the flip side of that, like that one gets a chuckle. I still die a little bit inside and actually screamed out loud in the theater, which I don't usually do, when I thought they actually killed Chewie.
Yes.
Screamed out loud in a movie theater. No! Like that like died and still die, and I know he's back in like 2 scenes. Mm-hmm. Charlie, you mentioned Lando. I do love his arrival with the Resistance and Poe's. Speaking of one of the things that I think you get added from seeing The Last Jedi is Poe's turn in this. He's such a hotshot, and I mentioned last time how I love seeing him get knocked down a peg in the last one to thoughtful leader, resistance leader, general, and asking Lando how they did it, doubting himself. That kind of stuff. And I think Lando comes in at a perfect time for that scene. I know he was introduced before, but I love that little moment between them. And similar timing kind of thing, or like around there. So Lando comes when Leia dies, but short and sweet, Jedi Leia. Mm-hmm. Wanted more.
I mean, they did what they could, because every component of what they did with her was recycled footage from the first 2 films in the trilogy. Mostly was cut stuff from The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So because what I originally heard was this was to have been her story. This was the Correct. Episode. We had a Han featured so heavily in The Force Awakens. Last Jedi was about Luke and kind of where he landed, and then this film would have been about Leia. But we obviously lost Carrie at the end of 2016, and that's that was as much as to be done.
So the last thing I'll mention. Although, speaking about Luke's story, I love watching him pull the X-Wing from the ocean. Mm-hmm. Just a nice, such a great throwback to Yoda and Luke's training and stuff like that. Going back to our greatest hits conversation. Another, we don't get Jedi Finn, but we do get Jedi Finn and Janna kicking a ton of ass. That turn, which I do love. Seeing that
what
bit,
what again, a great squad. I loved it.
And makes me wish that there was more of that leadership and more of like his platoon of ex-stormtroopers and that kind of stuff. And maybe in the future, we'll see.
I would love to see like a TV show or something about them too. I mean, because they did set it up with Lando saying like, "Hey, let's figure out where you're from." And I was like, "Yes, please! If we get some sort of offshoot with Lando, like taking in all of these ex-stormtroopers and like finding out their origin stories and building them out to be like the first like fleet of the New Republic."
Yes.
You just gave me such a great idea. A Lando show that alternates between him and Janna and trying to find where the stormtroopers came from, like modern, after the sequels.
The present.
But then also flashbacks to his stories. And it's Donald Glover.
So that
would be great.
It's basically like Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, which if you at all familiar with that show,
take it an episode at a time. Sorry, the last one I do want to mention is the "Be With Me" scene at the end, and all the voices coming back from animated voices to like people we only heard a little bit. I love that. And then again, to reference the last episode, Rey wins this whole thing. Not by destroying what she hates. She defends what she loves. Her whole thing is a defensive stance with the 2 lightsabers. She does not attack. She protects like the Jedi have to. That fixed the Jedi. They got turned into soldiers. They got turned into an army, and the Jedi have to protect. That is number 1. Palpatine defeats himself once she lets him.
God, absolutely.
So much with the prequels, the OT, like everything. She just that fixed it, and by listening to Rose from The Last Jedi, which makes Rose in this movie more frustrating. But I love that scene.
Yes. Very much frustrating. Yes, listen to your heart. That would be Roxette, 1990. I know. I feel like on the radio. We'll be here with you all night on the night shift.
I won't be. I gotta go to bed.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we're wrapping up. We're not going to be here all night. Overall importance ranking for you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I just want to throw out because you mentioned C3PO, and I think that they did a great job with C3PO in this. Like, because even when he comes in, he's like, "Oh, we're holding hands." And, like, he just inserts himself so perfectly, but in such a lovable way because he walks that really fine line of being just absolutely irritating. And you're just like, please, someone just destroy him. But then, they nailed it in this one of him just like you said, oh, I know you didn't say my name, but I'm okay. It's fine.
And his one last look at my friends.
Yes. It was so heartbreaking.
If anyone has hated C-3PO ever and then watches that scene and doesn't feel a tiny bit bad for hating C-3PO,
when your tiny heart size is too small.
Yeah.
Looking at my friends, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So great. Overall importance for you, ranking overall importance to the story. Where do you guys feel this kind of sits for you personally, and for your look on the entire series? How's this sit for you guys?
It's kind of a TBD for me.
Yeah, that's a challenging one. And I would think, and maybe Katie, you're having the same thought, maybe it is something that is as yet to be informed, because there could be something else that builds significance around it. So whether it's something that comes afterwards, like this great Lando series, where yes, he's helping all these lost stormtroopers, find their families, and he's, traveling the galaxy, but you're also seeing, Lando stories in the past, and they bring back Phoebe Waller-Bridge as L3, and but that's all spawned from this. Or it's, what's the real next trilogy or the next great series that comes from the new Republic that's, that Palpatine's finally gone. What happens next? What's the next great threat? What's the next great thing to be spun from this?
Yeah. And that's where I look at this and I find it interesting. And I think they have to solve is, if Palpatine is going, I'll do another MCU reference. He Who Remains, who has been protecting, quote unquote, the universe or the galaxy from, Palpatine's always wanted power. He's always wanted control. He thinks he's bringing order and peace to the galaxy, right? And kind of paraphrase Anakin / Vader. But so what was that peace and control from? Is there a Kang behind this He Who Remains? Was Palpatine the He Who Remains, or was he the Kang? Which is he? And I think it'd be interesting if Palpatine was He Who Remains. Sure, he hated the Jedi. Sure, he was maniacal and twisted and disturbing and terrible. But is there something worse? Or is it the Pikes? Is it the Hutts? Is it the Nihil coming back? Is it something worse that he's been keeping at bay through fear?
Oh, and right.
He's
okay.
gone.
Right. Here it comes. Right.
Something that was scared of Palpatine. And that's the only thing that it was keeping in check. Is if he's gone, what is there something worse that can come out, or is it just mayhem? Right. Mm-hmm. There's a few ways they can go. So,
wow, the possibilities. Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, TBD, I would agree. It's tough to see how this might inform things that kind of swirl around it. So yeah, not sure. Also not sure.
Do you guys think it was a good way to close out? Like, if that was a saga, was this the end game? Like, was this Endgame for me was such a perfect way to close out a saga.
Right.
And I mean, Rey even had I am all the Jedi. She had her I am Iron Man moment in this.
Yeah.
Is it a good close? Like,
I think despite the messiness of the story, yes, because like you were saying, Rey she defended versus attacking, and she became what the Jedi were supposed to be and what they have been striving for, and the struggle that they always had back and forth. And like, I guess that's why I say TBD as far as where it lands with me, because if the next series just goes back to Jedi fighting wars and doing what they always did, then I'm going to be like, okay, well, what's the point of this then? Like, what did you learn anything while building out this story if we're just going back to Jedi are fighting fascism? a rinse and repeat of what we've seen over the past. Jedi are accidentally fascism and supporting it. Oops! Now Jedi are fighting fascism.
Right.
So,
yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I think that it was a really nice ending to this, and I would like to see it happen. Where we're maybe several centuries in the future, and they're telling stories of the Jedi race Skywalker, but the Jedis are now something completely different in terms of what we know, where they have gone back to the defense and the kind of minimalism, I want to see them more like airbenders, where it was you fight with resistance versus you fight with attacking. To throw an Avatar Last Airbender reference.
That's the better Avatar thing. I'll allow it.
Not the movie.
I mean, I'd love to see, and this was kind of the start of the fall, but I'd love to see, Rey carry on a Jedi that were a little bit closer to the High Republic stuff of you can treat the Force in different ways, and my path through the Force might not be your path, where by the time we see the prequel trilogy, it's like, no, this is the path. This is the light side. You have to do this. You have to do that. Right. Listen to the council and do this. And it's like, back then, the High Republic, like you see in the comics and novels and stuff, that it's just like, nah, fucking do what you want, man. You can gotta go off and, like sing or dance or, train in whatever way kind of floats your boat. So, I think there's so many interesting ways to go.
Hi, Kitchen.
Hello. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
No, like I said, it sets a stage, like you said, regardless of the messiness, to Katie's point. It sets a stage that feels like it could be a genuine transition to things that lay beyond. We just haven't done anything with it. All we've done is just take a step back, and now we're Mando, and Mando's a huge hit, but it's still a prequel of sorts it's a different piece of the timeline. So and the other thing we've had looking forward is a comic here and there and Lego movies, which are non-canonical. So what and when are we going to get something that really launches us forward from this point? That's what I'm excited to see. I mean, Mark, we're dying for it to be the Rogue Squadron movie, and that just seems to be kind of tits up. I hate to say it.
And I wonder if they're having that problem that I just mentioned. Like, I wonder if they're trying to find the villain. Like, what?
Right.
Who are they fighting? Is it just Rogue Squadron going to clean up the syndicates, or is it they're fighting space pirates? Like, who are they?
Right.
What is the purpose of an army when you've defeated the big bad army? Right. You know what I mean? Like, what is this?
The fleet of 1,000 ships, exactly.
The war's over. Like, you don't see a World War II fighter squadron happen, like the movie that happens after World War II. Like, you don't see that. Like,
World War II and a half. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right. Like, it's so I don't. Maybe we'll get Top Gun in space. I really don't. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see where they go.
Yes, indeed. Cool.
Yeah. Katie, thank you so much for joining us again.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was great. I was really worried that this was going to be like a terrible, like poo-poo kind of conversation, kind of, or like not because of you, but because of the.
No,
the movie.
It's fine. I understand.
The overall reception. Yeah.
And possibly like a short episode where we would just be like, yeah, it's a movie. But this was a really great discussion. So thank you so much for joining us and for kind of leading our way through this conversation. That was fantastic.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed myself, and it gave me an excuse to watch a movie that I apparently liked a lot more than I remembered.
Look at that.
Good. Glad we can be that excuse for you.
All growth. I love it.
Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter on QT Geek. That's Q_T Geek, and on Instagram at Quintessential Geek.
Excellent. Right. And if were you pointing at me?
Yes. Yeah, that was.
Well, you can find me as always on Twitter at the C3. Go ahead and spell it out. My lovely wife April and I run the USS Grand Petoskey. That is a chapter of the Star Trek International Fan Club, of which Katie has now joined us as our always ensign, our lower decker. You can find us on the website of that name and on socials all across it. That too. I also try to fill up all the news feed of the Secret Friends Unite Facebook groups when there is something interesting happening, and that's where I'm at. Mark, you?
You can find me at _Canardian on Instagram, Twitter, our Discord channel, TikTok, wherever, any of those places. But mostly Twitter. That's kind of my main jam, and Instagram. So please, follow us on Discord, follow us on YouTube, get our likes and subs up. And thanks for joining us for this whole saga. This was great.
Good stuff. Awesome. Well, with that, as friends, as always, I will say the thing that Mark says. Am I getting my shows wrong? Do you say something now? Do I wear a hat in this one? I can't remember.
You know what? I'm just going to end this by saying, may the force be with you. Rex, play us out. That was a long one, man. You just went for it there. That was good.
Got to. I was. What's that song? I got the music in me. I think
we're gonna. Yeah. This is.
Oh God, are we still rolling? Shit. Oh,
I think we are.
Oh no.
I think that's just a good way to go.
Keep going. Yeah, this is great. This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.